So I've always had this feeling since I was a kid that I created my own reality.
Good.
And yet a long life, I always had a blessed life. Everything was perfect and everything was easy. And I somehow got this feeling that I had to work harder than I was. That things had to be more difficult than they were.
That's not uncommon as you're doing that humaning thing where you're comparing your abundance with their absence of abundance. It's not uncommon to then come to the flawed premise that you have to justify your abundance through struggle, that you have to pay some price for it. You don't have to pay a price for it. That'll just get you all balled up. You don't have to pay a price for it. There's no price to be paid.
Well, I did in somehow, some way, some reason. And I got to where I felt like I had to struggle more than I was. And I became...
Well, that's because you're trying to see yourself through the eyes of others. That's sort of where we began here today, isn't it? Trying to see yourself through their eyes, and so trying to adjust yourself so that you're more palatable to their eyes. But that's hard because there's a lot of them that think a lot of different ways about a lot of different things. It's sort of a futile thing. So now where are you?
Well, I became more of a human doing than a human being.
That's not uncommon either.
I felt I had to go,
well, it's obvious, isn't it? If you're doing something, you can pick something up and move it over there, and there it's done. I've accomplished it. Where this crap we're talking about here, we don't mean to be disrespectful of our own work, but we got that out of some of your minds sometimes. You can't see it or hear it or smell it or taste it or touch it. And so you sort of in the beginning have to take it on faith. You have to take it on how it feels to you before you can witness the results of it. That's what we meant earlier when we said Esther just looks kind of smart and kind of sure of herself. But when you know that you have quieted your mind and you know that your vibration has risen and you get an idea that you haven't had before and you follow through on that idea and it pays off, then you have shown yourself what absence of resistance will bring to you. In other words, you sort of have to show it to yourself. People who often are teaching you about struggle, they're not accessing the leverage of the energy that creates worlds. They're counting on other people to do what they need them to do. So they need to boss you around. They need to make you subservient. They need to make you believe that you have to pay a price. They'll say, you must not be selfish. But you know what they mean? Satisfy my selfishness. You shouldn't be selfish and do what you need to do. You should be unselfish and do what I need you to do. What? They mean well. They just don't understand how it works, and most humans are doing some form of that. But when you break loose of that, when you accept that you have true power, that is your legacy, you were born with it, and that you get to focus wherever you choose to focus, and that your thoughts will emanate from whatever it is that you have your attention upon, and when your thoughts are emanating, that law of attraction will answer those thoughts, and that you will create your reality based upon what you are thinking. Esther would say, when something wonderful would happen, as you did, she would say, I did that. And when something not so wonderful would happen, she would say, I did that too. As you start to make the correlation between what you're doing and how you're feeling and what's coming back, then you're home free, you see. And then others who then need to control you for whatever reason, they don't have so much of your attention. You can be nice to them and you can understand them, but you know they don't hold power over you. And you know that you don't have to prove your worthiness to them. It's so interesting that your source, or whatever you want to call it, if you want to call it God, is not asking you to prove your worthiness. Source just knows you are worthy. And anytime you feel like you got to prove something to somebody, you're under the influence of something other than source. Did we head you off, or did we shore you up?
I have some more. So I at one point about 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
Yeah.
And I've always been, I was told by the doctor, it's debilitating, it'll never get better, and there's nothing you can do about it.
It's whatever you believe it is, and if you believe what he believes, then that's where you are.
Right. So I said thank you very much, and I fired him and walked out the door.
Yeah.
And I started searching around. I said, no, I believe I have my own beliefs and I can create whatever I want to create. And I started looking for the help of somebody to help me out of wherever I was.
Well, let us just say to you It's an indication of resistance, and you pinpointed the resistance already. You know how earlier you were asking how you know what it's about? Back of the room. You pinpointed it just now when you said, I was blessed, things came easily to me, and I came to believe at some point that I had to pay a price. Esther remembers moving here to this city with Jerry, and they decided to climb South Mountain. It was Esther's first hike. She was a young girl showing off. She climbed South Mountain, but by the time she got to the top, she had so overextended her muscles that she had Parkinson's, or the equivalent of it. In other words, that tension, that extending beyond, that having a desire that is stronger than my open valve of belief, puts that tension. Doctors aren't considering it from an energetic point of view. They're not even thinking about it in terms of vibration or resistance. They're just moving the piles around of manifestations and finding the commonality in the manifestations, but they're not getting to the heart of it.
Right. So when I couldn't get myself out of the vibration where I was and into what I considered health or cured.
Well, see, that's what we meant earlier when we were talking about pre-manifestational awareness, which is emotion, rather than post-manifestational awareness, is easier, because once you have the manifestation, it's hard not to notice it. Which brings us back to the first statement that we made today with all of you, that most people are offering most of their vibration based upon what they're observing. So now this is what you're observing. It's normal that it would be a lot in your vibration. So you're going to have to just step back from it and take a vibrational approach to all of this, and let the evidence, the seeming evidence of this resistance, be irrelevant for a little while. Just let it be irrelevant. Haven't you noticed that there are moments in time when it's much less active?
Yes.
Sort of comes and goes. And begin noticing when it's stronger, when it's less, when you're thinking about it more, when you're thinking about it less. It's just a byproduct of some resistance of which you can let go.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you know what? Without the more dramatic manifestation of it, you might not have ever let go of that resistance.
Right, exactly.
Which is the answer to the question that we were talking about earlier too.
I see that. I've come to understand that it's the best thing that ever happened to me, because it's helping me let go of some sort of resistance.
Yeah. We have an assignment for you.
Okay.
Second one we've ever given. When you are putting yourself in your bed tonight, we'll be aware of that. And we will be focused upon the cellular you. And you will be aware of this, because you will feel, most likely will interpret it as warmth, maybe even heat, but temperature. And it will at first cause an increase in your symptoms, because that energy flowing to you and through you will meet your existing thoughts, which will cause a little more sense of that. When that happens, relax completely into it with these thoughts on your mind. This is help on the way. This is help on the way. This is source on a cellular level. And then just do your best to just relax into whatever's happening. Don't judge it. Don't worry about it. Don't question it. It won't be freaky. Nothing freaky. The room won't catch on fire and nothing will light up, and you won't levitate. It's not anything like that. You'll just have physical sensations, and your assignment is just to completely relax into them. And then things will be different from that point forward.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now see how there's a sort of increase of it right now?
Yes,
because
it's a lot.
we've got our attention upon you.
Yes.
And so it's almost like you can't control yourself, because we've got our attention all over you. And so the resistance that you do have is being met, and so that's a normal thing. So if we were to completely withdraw our attention from you, which we can never do, if your inner being could completely withdraw attention from you, which it will never do, then it's that same story again, isn't it? So you know that your inner being exists, yes?
Yes, yes, yes.
And you know that your inner being has your back and is on your side.
Yes.
Do you know that every cell in your body is known by your inner being, and that the cells of your body are asking constantly, and that when they ask, the source always answers, but that your thoughts about needing to pay a price get in the way? Your cells ask, source answers, and you're in the way, and that's what that's all about. So from now on, as your cells ask and source answers and you're not in the way, then there won't be any evidence of it. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it, doctor? Yeah.
The last thing, when eventually you found me, I got very depressed, I got very sad, I got very fearful, and eventually you found me, and I started listening to you all the time and walking on the beach, and I met a woman who was very joyful and beautiful and in my space, and we started talking about getting together and possibly being together. And I said, well, I do this really weird thing that you might find strange. I listen to this woman who has this talks about this
whose
being,
husband calls her Abraham.
He called her Abraham, and I just want you to know that's why she pulled her phone out of her pocket and showed it to me, and she was listening to Abraham. And I knew it was right. And she's come into my life, she's here with me today, and it makes me feel like right now I need to say to her, I like you pretty good. You want to see how it goes? And I want to know if she would marry me.
When she sees you again, she'll say yes.
I was going to say, next time you see her, would you ask her? Thank you.
Sit right there. We have enjoyed this interaction more than any that has come before. There is great love here for you. And for now, we are complete.